Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining. Hello to everybody who's in the room with us, and anybody who might be enjoying this session as a recording. Just as a general reminder, big apologies to everybody who was with us week before last on our Managing Kubernetes Management Packs session. We had a technical difficulty on the side of the hosting company, so that session was cut short. So we've rescheduled that for Tuesday of next week, same place, same time. If you go to the free webinars for October blog on blogs.vmware.com/management, you'll see the direct link to pre-register for that session, and we'll have Mira Menon and Tim George back for that session. So keep an eye peeled for that. That also has the rest of our webinars scheduled for October. So direct links to all of those. Some of those are Bright Talk links like this one. Some of those are also still running through our social media channels. And if for whatever reason you can't make these sessions or want to recap on any of the content covered in these sessions, there's a recording link available in that blog to take you directly to our Tech Talk page on VMware.com. where all of our recordings for these sessions are stored. So with that, enough out of me. Let's take it away, Tim.
All right. Thanks, Anders. Appreciate it. So today we're talking all about management packs because Anders mentioned that we were talking about the Kubernetes management pack that was rescheduled Tuesday. So if you want to learn more about that particular management pack, feel free to join us on Tuesday. I'm going to try to answer questions as much as possible here. I've got that open in another window, another screen, so I can see that. So feel free to jump any questions in there. I should be able to get to those as we move along as well. So today we're talking management packs, and considering there are probably, I didn't take full count, but something like 80 different management packs. We won't be talking about all of them today. We're just going to cover kind of what are they, how do we use them, how do we install, excuse me, how do we configure everything? We'll look at some things on dashboards. I should probably move to the agenda here so we can look at that. So here's what we're going to look at getting started. We're going to look at the list of the current available packs, where to find that, the marketplace. We'll look at the interoperability matrix, sample exchange, some documentation, some examples here, and then we'll look at some dashboards and what we can do with some of this data we can get from all of the management packs. I do have a link or a slide at the end of this as well that has some links to a lot of the places we'll look at today, but I'll leave that up at the end if there are any sort of questions that we want to answer, and I'll answer those questions as we get to them at that point. So we're going to keep this pretty, I guess we're not going to spend a lot of time in slides. We're going to go and we're just going to jump into some of these places, some of the places we can go to, and then we'll jump into Aria Operations to look at some of those examples, how to configure all that kind of stuff. So without further ado, let's look at our first spot here. So the first thing that we want to kind of look at is, this is the getting started with management packs section. And so this just explains what management packs are, what we can do with them, and what they're more useful for. So the management packs are, for the most part, and that's not always true, but they are pack files. That's .pak files. So if you're using on-prem Aria Operations, then you would install a PAK file or a pack file. If you're on the cloud version of Aria Operations, it's even easier. You don't need to really install anything. You just go to the repository, and we'll show that as well. And you click Git on those management packs, and they will install directly from there. So we can use these management packs to extend our operations. We can get a lot of different things in here. It goes through. We can get compute, storage, networking. We can get databases. We can get connectors like OEM or Nagios, that kind of thing. So there's a number of different things, and we'll see that if we jump into the list here in a moment that we can install. And so these diagrams are basically trying to show that off a little bit. We have virtual products, physical products, apps, or cloud products. We have all these management packs we can install then. Then the policies, the adapters, the dashboards, all of the box. gets put into the UI and the analytics engine of Aria Operations. Apologies, it still says vRealize Operations. Looks like we need to update our documentation a little bit to update that. But again, on installing, configuring, if we jump to that page, I did mention that you do need a pack file. If you're using the on-prem version of Aria Operations, you can download all of those pack files directly from Customer Connect to install. And this goes into the product interoperability matrix, which we'll also go take a look at. So we can either, depending on, again, if we are talking on premises or if we're talking cloud version, we will either install a pack and there are some options that go along with that. We can reset content and we'll update all of our recommendations and policies and views, everything there if we want to overwrite. So that's something we can certainly do. There is for upgrading or upgrading these management packs, we have ways of doing that for the most part in cloud again, and we'll probably talk more on cloud than we do on premises. But that cloud version, we'll just need to update it directly from the UI on Aria Operations Cloud, and we'll ask you if you again want to overwrite the content. I usually recommend doing so with overwriting the content, just because if you don't, you end up with duplicates of some of those dashboards. So it'll end up with an overview dashboard and then an overview dashboard 1 or 2 or 3, depending on how many times you might want to update that. But this getting started kind of goes through the basic, how to install, how to configure, how to upgrade, as well as a list of the manager packs. We're not going to use this list, but this does list off all these manager packs. I do want to go directly here, and we'll look at documentation and the list directly from here. And the reason I'm moving to this is and moving from tabs here. All of these pages, again, I'll just mention again, all of these pages I will have links to at the end. We'll get back into that slideshow. So if you want to go look at these, you can certainly do so. So this page is going to go through then the list of management packs, and we'll have then the release notes as well as the user guides for each of these, documentation. And we'll take a look at some of those documentation or some of those the documentation for some of the packs a little later on as well. As I mentioned, there are probably a good 80 of these, maybe even more of these manager packs that we can install. And they go through again from networking, storage, databases, applications, anything we want to look at. The release notes then are just going to tell us basically the last time it was updated, as well as when what was maybe added to that point. Looks like our F5, our big IP, hasn't been updated since 2021. But if there's anything that has been updated more recently, of course, we'd have those in the release notes as well. Let me close that back out. I'm not going to jump. I don't think we're going to jump right directly into documentation right now. But if we clicked on any of these user guides to the right-hand side or on the right-hand column here, will give us a documentation. We will get into it, but just not quite yet. The other thing to mention is the VMware Marketplace. I have this sorted at the moment for operations or integrations. I was formerly known as the True Visibility Suite or anything for VMware Aria Operations. So this is going to give us all of our management packs. And if we click on any of these management packs, it's going to go through and give us some details around a specific pack. So if we use our Kubernetes pack, just as the example, we click on there, we can then see what dashboards are coming with this management pack. So we can scroll through our management pack or dashboards there. It's going to give us some of the key use cases we might use our Kubernetes pack for. We can get our technical details around that. What do we need to install? Again, it's just directing us to this matrix, resources and support, and any sort of versions we have. So there's a lot of different information we can glean just from the marketplace. We don't have to go to this marketplace to get our information. It's just another place we can look and see what's available from the marketplace. So we can see all of the different manager packs that are available within the marketplace. So now we've seen lots of links to this interoperability matrix. So this is going to that is just interopmatrix.vmware.com. And this is where we get a sense of the versions or the versions that are compatible with the versions we're using of Aria Operations. So I can search through and say, just type Aria Operations. And will give us all the different management packs we have. Let's pick. Let's just pick our SNMP one. That'll work fine. So that our management packs at the top, and we can pick our solution down here. If we want to find our operations, we can find that and look through, and will give us then all of the versions of the manager pack, as well as all the versions of our operations that manager pack will work with. So we're looking at, for example, the latest of our SNMP pack is on version 3.3. That came out on April the 26th, 2023. And that is compatible at the moment with 8.12 and 8.12.1. If we're using an older version of the manager pack, it will then have older versions of Aria Operations that will then work for. And this one is fairly simple. There's only been a few versions of this. Of course, if it is a manager pack that has been out there for a while, we'd probably want to double check and make sure that this is still compatible with our version of our operations, whether that be our on-premises, more than likely, and most of them are going to still be compatible with our cloud version. Last thing to bring up before we look at some of that documentation is just the sample exchange, and this is at developer.vmware.com. So this is where we can upload and download any sort of dashboards that we have built. Well, we've got it set at the moment for dashboards. There's actually a lot of different things we could grab. In this case, I've just got it set for dashboards. So it's going to get all of our operations dashboards. And a lot of these dashboards are created for use with some of the manager packs we'll talk about. For example, here we've got a SQL Server summary dashboard. We've got UCS Fabric Interconnects Details dashboard. And so if each of these, you can go in, take a look at what this dashboard might look like. You can always download these, import them directly into your operations, and then edit them from there. If there's things you don't need in there or add to these dashboards, you can certainly do that. So it's just going to download a JSON file that you can import directly into Aria Operations, and then it will come with the particular dashboard you might be looking at. So always useful. Of course, you can always upload directly here as well. I believe you would have to sign in order to upload. But you can add things if you want to share with the community, or just download packs that might be, or download dashboards that might be useful for you. So let's go ahead. Let's look at some of these examples then of these manager packs, and let's take a look at some of the documentation. For a lot of these, it's a fairly simple configuration, but we'll have lists of things we're going to bring in. Out-of-the-box dashboards, a list of alerts, a list of metrics, all of that kind of thing. So let's use let's use SQL Server as one of our examples. So when we click on our documentation, the first thing is just going to be the high-level overview. What is this going to? What are the features they're bringing in? Well, we know we're bringing in 7 dashboards. So we've got these 7 dashboards we can view. We know we've got 250 metrics, 30 alerts, as well as capacity definitions, so we can use these in our capacity calculations when we're going forward or looking at our future needs and capacity-wise for the Microsoft SQL Server, as well as the VM or the host, whatever level we wanted to look at. And then we'll let us know if there are external relationships. Most of these are going to have external relationships, meaning that we can connect to the virtual layer that we're already connecting to with Aria Operations using the vSphere account. So in this case, we are connecting to virtual machines to our SQL Server instance so that we can get those relationships again, find out what servers, what databases are on the virtual machines we're looking at. So on the left, these are navigation pane, right? We need to make sure we're meeting number one, our system requirements, which is going to let us know what versions we're going to be able to connect to, what we need for connectivity. So in this case, we're looking at a host name or IPv4 address, so our SQL Server instance, and then our credentials. It's a username and password is what we're going to use to connect here. But more than likely, some of them, well, I shouldn't say more than likely, but some of them do have uh, privileges you need to assign to whatever user you wanted to use. So we probably don't need to go too far into our privileges or what privileges are needed in this example, but this will go through and let you know what those privileges are in order to create your least privileged user. This one also gives you a script. You can just run the script and we'll create a user for you that way as well. Now, most of these do have, if you want to add SSL certs to the trust store, you can go through that as well. We won't click on that today. Upgrading, we've already kind of talked about, as well as installing. So configuring, again, this section is going to go through what we need. We already talked, we really just need a username and password, so we already know what to do there, but this will give us how we need to create that, create our adapter instance from going from there. There's a troubleshooting section for if we get any sort of encounter any sort of errors, and then a using the manager pack section. And this is where I think is the most important part here once you've got it connected. This is going to give you the resource kinds and relationships that's going to make, the inventory tree, the dashboards, views, reports, as well as the alerts and metrics. They're going to come with a specific management pack. Now, all of the management packs that were formerly in the True Visibility suite or that are now Aria Operations for integrations, all of these are going to have a kind of a diagram. And these diagrams is going to be extremely helpful if you're looking to make any sort of dashboards once you've installed these. So we know in this case that our virtual machine, or external on the right-hand side, is the parent of the instance and the parent of the availability always-on availability group. So if we're making dashboards that have parent-child relationships, we'll want to make sure we're making those the correct way. Meaning we know our virtual machine is the parent of the other pieces, and then the databases, queries, wait types, those are going to be the children then of our instance or our AG group. The other part that is important, well, it of course does have the dashboards that are out of the box that the manager pack will bring, as well as then the tags, views, reports. But if we're curious on whether or not a metric that is important to us is going to be brought in with this particular manager pack, we do have then the list of metrics that go along with the resource group or that the manager pack is going to set up for us. So, for example, we know under status, we'll be able to find status. Under replica server, we'll be able to find the metrics there. Active processes, active availability states, capacity. These will be where we would search then within Aria Operations for that particular metric. And then we get the metrics themselves, as well as a brief description of that. So we can always look at this list. And again, this list had, I think, 250 or so different metrics. I can't even scroll to the bottom of it, of all the things that we can then bring in. This will break down by permission as well. So that goes along with creating that user, why we need certain privileges to create the least privileged user for each of the permissions that we needed. So view server state, view DB, all of those things. So that's one example, and this just requires a username and password. For the most part, most of these are just going to require username and password in order to get started. There are a few ones that don't. For example, if let's look at Cisco networking. This is going to connect to any of your Cisco equipment. But for this one, what we need to create an adapter instance is a little different. We don't necessarily need a username and password. We could do this with just a community string. I think I missed the part where it's talking about that, but we don't necessarily need username and password here. A community string would be enough to get started with Cisco networking. Now that's on the simple end. If we want to go a little more to the complex end, we could look at something like ServiceNow. And ServiceNow requires not only username and password. That is what's going to be needed. We'll still have a least privileged user, so we'll still need to get that information from our CMDB. But there is a configuration file that goes along with this, and this can be a little complex depending on how we want to set up some resource syncing between our CMDB and Aria Operations. A lot of different options we can do with a config file, since it is kind of a custom created JSON file that would then get added. It actually gives you the folder where it would be added, and then you could use that config file. Now, this, if anyone is interested in using this management pack, the on the right hand side is sort of the navigation for how do we create this configuration file. So don't get too hung up though with all the different options, because it really is just different ways of doing so. So for example, we can get alerts or events or incidents. We can get all these things by UUID, or we can get them by the MOID. And so we can see there's options for either one, and just telling us how to set that up. Or we can do we want to sync by the MOID, we want to populate only, or we want to populate and delete. So these are all different options. You don't have to have all of these options within, and I guess if I click on one, we don't have to have all these options in our config file. These are just all the possible ways to do that, all the possible things to do. Don't have to have all of them, because it does look a little daunting when you first look at it, just because there's so many options there to go through. But it does require this configuration file that still needs to be created. I think when I created mine for the demo environment, I think it's about maybe 100 lines of code. Now, a lot of these lines are just going to be brackets and that kind of thing. So really, it's probably only about maybe 30 actual lines of code. So not too bad. So that's probably it for documentation. Most of these are set up the exact same way as the rest of them are. So if we wanted to look at Oracle database, it's the same exact thing on the left-hand side. System requirements, how to configure, and then using the management packs. All of the same thing, dashboards, resource kinds. Of course, if we look at resource kinds, it's going to be a little bit different than what it was for SQL Server or Microsoft SQL Server. Same kind of thing, though. We know our VM is the parent, so on and so forth. So let's go ahead. Let's jump into then, I think. Let's see. Let's go ahead and jump into Aria Operations. So really just what I wanted to first show here is what the possibilities are once we have these manager packs installed. And we'll look at, we'll go to the actual configuration in a moment, but the possibilities, or what is possible here with any sort of custom dashboard that we can make, I think is pretty good to look at as far as what can we do. So this top part of this particular dashboard is looking at a virtual machine. It's got IIS W16. Well, we don't need to remember the name, but we'll go to our data store, look at our host, our cluster, and our data center. And this is, you could have off the data store, could be vSAN details. We could have disk groups and things off to the right as well that are going to be there kind of out of the box, or only with our vCenter adapter, or using our vCenter adapter. But as soon as we start installing management packs and collecting data from our management packs, we can then build those relationships that some of those we just looked at in the documentation. We can use those, and we'll make those relationships to one or more parts of our virtual layer. and start adding on to it. So if I scroll down, this is the same virtual machine, that same IIS virtual machine, only now, once we've added the manager packs, we can start to look at what everything is attached to that virtual machine, rather than just looking at just the host or the data store or the cluster. Of course, that information is still here, but now we can add the additional pieces. So here again is our host, but now we can also look at with connected to our host, we can see, all right, where is that host sitting on? We can see it's a Cisco UCS blade here. We can see the fabric interconnects that are assigned here, the chassis from the Cisco UCS chassis is there. So we know that that much is there. We can see here from the ServiceNow side, we know that this virtual machine is part of the Hitmeyer team. It is in research and development department in the test business unit. So we can start gleaming some information as to who might own this virtual machine, what department it's being used for, and we know it's for R&D and it's in our for testing purposes. Might not necessarily know exactly what we use it for, but at least gives us a little bit as well. We can see within testing, we've got an application that we've got. This is the Omnis application, so we get a little more information there as well. We also, if I scroll back down, there's again our fabric interconnects. We can see our UCS manager, or any sort of tags that are set up with this that come with the UCS manager pack, so we can find out. We can use those tags to create dashboards as well. We could use a tag and say, I want everything that has a UCS tag associated with it. Bring that in there, and I want to check on health of all of those, in particular, potentially virtual machines or hosts or whatever it is you wanted to bring in. I see we've got some SAP, so it's got some tag there, or it's related somehow to SAP. So that would potentially could help as well. On the right-hand side, from our data store, of course, we always we saw the data store in the upper portion here, and it is that vSAN, so we can see our disk groups and capacity disks along with it. I did add a relationship here as well, just to see what it would look like if it was, instead of being a vSAN data store, if this data store was sitting on NetApp. So this is connecting to our NetApp volume, and then we can look at all of the other pieces below it as well. We could also know we've got our Microsoft SQL Server here, so we can see it's got our instance. We can see our databases within it. Within that instance, we can see our our queries, or that right now it's set to the top, I think 10 queries, or the top 10 slowest queries, depending on how we wanted to set that up. We could also see all of our wait types and our jobs as well that are running on that SQL Server instance. If I scroll back down further here, we also get, we know it's, but just by the name, it's got IIS on it. So I see IIS, we can see our websites and things from the IIS standpoint, as well as, since we've connected that Cisco networking pack, so we can see the switch there, as well as look at all of the ports. It's going to be, it's going to be a little big, but all of the ports that are on that switch as well. So we probably don't care about all of these ports as it pertains to this particular virtual machine, but that's just kind of the all 64 ports we can look at from this view as well. So this is a sort of a graphical, really just set up for relationships and kind of how to show those relationships. I'm not sure if this would be super helpful in a production environment, but potentially so if we wanted to see everything that is connected to a virtual machine to find out if one thing is healthy. Does that spread, or is that still okay for the rest of everything else that's associated with it? What I think is probably a little more useful, if I don't know why that's well, that's weird. Somehow got a little messed up here. See if we can fix that a little bit here. So what the idea here for this dashboard, and I don't know why it's all of a sudden all like a puzzle piece here, but the idea was we could take our SQL Server, our database instance, sort of like we were just looking at, and we can trace that down to our virtual machine. We get our KPIs. If we look at, let's see, it should be this one. That should be up above. Again, sorry, I'm not sure why this is happening, but we can click on our metrics here and be able to see them on the right-hand side with whatever metric we wanted to see. So this is probably a little more useful than what we looked at as far as the graphical that we just looked at before. This is probably maybe a little more useful when it comes to that. So we've got the database. It goes to the virtual machine, connects to the host, which then connects to the blade, and so on and so forth. I think that probably the rest of it is going to be a little messed up too. Apologies for that. Here's how it's a little bit how it's supposed to look: the blade, the fabric interconnect, and with everything that we go through, everything we click on, we then get all the way down to whatever we wanted to make it, to the networking or to the storage, all the way down. So here's a little more of what it should look like. Not sure what happened there. Probably something to do with the resolution size of the screen at the moment or something like that. And as we look through, we can see whatever metrics, whatever statistics are coming from that particular object type, be it SQL Server instance, host, or the blade. So that's probably a little more useful. Doesn't look like I see any sort of questions yet. Again, feel free, if you do have questions here, throw those into the questions section. I think there's just represented by a question mark. I'll try to answer those as we get to it. The last dashboard I think is pretty helpful before we look at just some of the out of the box dashboards is this application topology dashboard. So what this is doing is taking an application we've defined. This is just GKE hotel demo, so it does have some Kubernetes with it. But then we have other tiers that are along with it as well. So for example, we have our database tier here, and we can expand these out. Again, it lets us know a little bit about the relationships we have here, but we can also use this for any sort of specific application. We want to see how the health is of any of the objects that are connected here to that application, or specifically in that application. So at the very beginning, we looked at just a particular virtual machine, and everything is connected to that. But in this case, will show us anything we wanted to see concerning a specific application. In this case. So if I wanted to see, let's just pull out here the databases and the queries. So now I know all of the queries that are running specifically for this application. If I click on it, I can then get the metrics around it. So if I, for example, click on our instance here, we can see all of our queries that are around, which we see graphically on the left, but on the right is the heat map. It's coloring by, it could be coloring by health, could be colored by average execution time, something like that. And then our metric picker down below will give us all of the information as well for that instance. So we can look at database performance, we can look at disk capacity, CPU, what are our connections, what's our state, what's our demand, all of those things we could look at directly from a dashboard similar to here. So we can look at all of that, and we could pull out our Kubernetes information, so we could see all of our deployments and things on the Kubernetes side. We pull out the backend storage. In this case, I think it's running on NetApp, so we could look at our NetApp information as well alongside of it, whatever it is we wanted to look at. And again, I think this is a little bit more helpful maybe than the first dashboard that we looked at. So we talked about with the documentation that a lot of these manager packs, I would say the majority, if not 100%, come with some sort of out of the box dashboards. So I'm going to make that a little bigger here. So these are all the manager packs that I have installed currently. We can see quite a bit of Dell here as well as HP. We've got some Lenovo, Microsoft, everything here, MySQL. And if we look at any of these. Let's just go to 3PAR. There again is what I was mentioning earlier, is that looks like someone didn't, when they installed an upgrade here, didn't click the overwrite, because we've got duplicates of everything, of each of those dashboards. But each of these will come then with dashboards out of the box, and we can move to those. We can also, if we wanted, we could clone these dashboards and then edit them. We can't edit them directly, out of the box dashboards. We could clone these and then get them, make any sort of changes we wanted from that point. To look at a little bit around the configuration, and we'll talk about again how to install these. I know we've talked about it, but let's show this just a little bit here at the moment as well. So again, with all of the accounts that I have added at the moment, we can see I've got the majority of management packs are installed directly into this demo environment at the moment. Not all of them, but the majority. And underneath those, we can look at any of the accounts that we have. So for Cisco UCS, we've got one UCS Central, I believe one UCS Manager. So we're connected to both of those. For Cisco networking, we've got a Catalyst. I think we've got some Nexus switches here as well. And each of these, again, just requires, for the most part, as we already talked about, is just going to require your host name, where you want to connect it to. In this case, what protocol are we using? And then credentials. So just going to be an UCS, just going to be username and password. Of course, you have to name it. So this would, whatever you want to call your names, username and password. And that's pretty much it. Host name, username, password, for the most part, that's all you need. There are usually advanced settings that come with most of these management packs. So that's it will work regardless of whether you look at these advanced settings or not, if you validate the connection. But there could be important information underneath here. In this case, our UCS. Do we want to create port objects? Do we want to have the adapter instance name? Do we want to prepend that to the end of the object? Max events. Do we want to collect events at all? Is there a specific port? How do we want to name them, and auto discovery? So lots of different things could be under the advanced settings. Definitely worth checking out if you want to start using some of these management packs. As far as kind of getting these or looking at what we have installed versus what we potentially could install, the under accounts where we are now, once we have the management pack installed, we can simply click add, and then we'll ask us, okay, what kind of account do you want to add? This might take a moment to bring up since we have something installed. So these are going to be the installed management packs we have. So whatever sort of account we want to add, if we wanted to add another, say we had another Isilon account we wanted to add, we just click on that and it will give us the options to add that. If we look at the repository, and this kind of goes along with the marketplace, will give us all of the first at the top things we have installed, as well as the bottom, or towards the bottom, will be available integrations that we don't have installed. So again, things we haven't installed, we've got Nutanix, NetApp E-Series, SolarWinds, vCloud Director, VxRail Management Pack. So there's a lot of things we don't have installed here. We've installed quite a few things, but a lot of things we could still set up, things like Horizon. This isn't really the demo environment we use for Horizon, but we could install and connect to our Horizon there if we want to get all of our VDI information as well. So this, again, will just be, you can click on any of these management packs, and there's just a little get button. If you're using the cloud version, all you need to do is click on get, and it will download and install that for you. Of course, you can look at what the metrics are going to bring in, meaning each management pack will be the list of metrics here, as well as documentation, as well as the content. Looks like this SNMP isn't bringing any sort of dashboards or views. Looks like only metrics is bringing in for it. Let's go back to the repository, because one last thing I want to show before we move on here. For our installed integrations, much like we did just looking at anything new, if I wanted to look at, for example, our Magic Pack for networks, it will bring up the same kind of screen if we want to add an account, if we need to use that, or if we wanted to deactivate this completely. We don't want to use this Magic Pack any longer, again, with the list of metrics and content. So I think that's pretty much it from the standpoint of how do we get that get these into Aria Operations. I did want to discuss briefly on a couple other things here. I think one of these is the Management Pack Builder, and so if there's any of these Management Packs out of these 80 that we didn't that maybe you're using something in your environment that isn't one of those Manager Packs. If it has a REST API with a payload that is a JSON payload, you can always use the Management Pack Builder to build your own Management Pack. Currently, I should say currently for use with REST APIs and JSON payloads. That will probably change in future. We're looking at adding things like SNMP, looking at adding JDBC for our databases. So that will change in the future. Currently, it is just for REST APIs with JSON payload. But what you can do here is go through, and this is a no-code kind of feature to set up any sort of management pack. So, for example, I've just in my demo here, we've just got some rubric as the example. Oh, looks like I probably need to log in again. In a while since I looked at it. Log back in. If we look at our rubric, our rubric example here, we have a few different options, and this is we're looking at a design here that has already been specified, but we can connect to our host here. We need to make sure we have a connection that is just for test info or a test connection. We can set up our host name. We'll set up our base API path. We'll set up authentication. Again, this is just kind of for testing purposes. So I'm just going to kind of skip through. And then we can actually go request. I'm not even sure if this is up right now, so we might not get a great response. Oh, we did. Okay, good. So we can test a response, in this case, again, to rubric, and we can see what did that come back on. Make sure we have a connection. Once we have a connection here, we can go and make some requests. And this is going to have the information that we'll use for future calls. So we're just doing, in this case, we're getting a cluster, we're getting the VM, we're getting some snapshot information, and we're going to use those requests, all the information that comes back on those requests, to create objects, which I'm going to create as the cluster, the rubric VM, and snapshots and rubric events, so we can grab alerts. And I'm going to make relationships between them, between the cluster and the rubric VM, or the cluster and the VM, and then the rubric VM and the VMware virtual machine. So we can use our Aria Operations connections here and go through and grab information from current Aria Operations deployments and make the relationships directly between some things that we're building in those Aria Operations. Of course, we can make alerts, and we can add our own content to it. And I know I'm going very quickly here with Management Pack Builder, but this is just to kind of show, that these options are available. If there's something that we're having, or something we're using here that you don't have it, there isn't a Management Pack for yet, you can still always build your own. We'll go out, test everything, and I again don't know if everything is connected here, but if it is, we're just going to show you what we can do is go ahead and build Management Packs, and this Management Pack Builder will do all that for us. We never had to type any sort of code. We basically just have to know a little bit about APIs, and we'll go out and do that alone. Looks like I see a question. Is Management Pack Builder still standalone? Any plans for integration with Aria Ops? Perhaps I missed this on the conversation. No, David, you didn't miss this yet. I was just getting to that. It is standalone at the moment, meaning it is an OVA you can deploy. But coming shortly, within probably the next release, or shortly after, it is going to be available within Aria Ops Cloud. So that'll just be much like you have tiles when you're here. Under services, under the cloud services console, right now we have everything we want to connect with this account. This is our CMBU TMM account. So we're looking at just Aria Operations at the moment, but of course we could have Aria Operations for logs. We could have automation, guardrails, Aria Hub. So very shortly, directly here under these services will be a management pack builder service, which you'll be able to link to directly. Now, whether that means we can also then just use the existing connection, since it's going to be as a tile here in our cloud service portal, you'll be able to use that existing Aria Operations to then make your relationships and grab your objects and requests directly from here. So right now it is, to just reiterate that a little bit, it is currently a standalone, but will be both a standalone as well as the in the SaaS version of our operations in the near future. So now we've completed that collection, we can actually go ahead and build our management pack. This does, again, since we're using no code, it's just going to build that directly for us and give us we can download. Again, that pack file that we talked about before, we can download that pack file. David, to answer your question as well, or add on to your question, I should say, this will, as for now, download, but there will be an option to just install. That's going to come as soon as we add this to the cloud service portal again. We'll just be able to hit install, and it will install directly into Aria Operations for us. So we won't even have to physically look at that pack file or manually do that. It'll just be there automatically. So that kind of goes through Management Pack Builder. Since we built that again, now it's got two separate builds. We can actually control versioning on this as well, or import our own content. So that's I think it about for that at the moment. I did want to, I don't know if I still have this open, but I wanted to talk for the last thing really quickly about our tech zone page. Now this goes through, and we'll go through all of the products at this point, Tanzu and Aria, or Tanzu Intelligence Services. That's getting stood up at the moment. For now, we're going to Aria, and we're going to go into Aria Operations. There we go. And this has two different options. This is just a learning platform. So we have two different options here. Once we get to the Aria Operations page, we can look at on the left-hand side and scroll down and learn about just whatever it is we want to learn about. Today we talked about a lot of Aria Operations for integrations. That was formerly the True Visibility Suite again. So there's an entire section there. For the homepage, though, we can also see release notes, release dates, knowledge base, blogs and articles, any upcoming events under this webinar section, any sort of resources or additional resources. Again, the links to the sample exchange that we looked at. That's where you can download or upload those dashboards, the operations and integrations documentation. If you want to get your VCP certification, that's all here. The other option we have is what we're calling a journey to success. And really that's going to open up and say, all right, here is this, instead of just learning exactly what it is or a topic or a module that you want to look at, you can actually go through and say, I want to look at just the very simple from why use Aria Operations. We can go through user interface, some out-of-the-box dashboards, and look at hands-on labs, or it might be a video, it might be a blog, and go through it at kind of the more basic topics, which is in the Getting Started section. We'll go through a Getting More Out Of section. So again, here is talking about management packs. So there actually is a hands-on lab we can go through, and we could look through for management packs, monitoring and troubleshooting Kubernetes, logs, troubleshooting. And then the last section, if I can scroll down, is more of the becoming a power user. So that's going to be a little more complex situations you might be in, such as creating custom alerts, alert notifications, application monitoring, automation or integrating automation with our Aria operations, workplace workload placement, and custom dashboards. So there's quite a bit to go through from the kind of the basic parts of Aria operations here at the top where they're getting started, and you can use that either way. So I either use this kind of journey to success, or just pick out a specific topic like we're looking at here. So the Management Pack Builder that we kind of talked about already, but each of those sections we looked at, there are videos here that go through. I think usually from 2 or 3 minutes up to 10 or 15 minutes, depending on what the topic is. But it goes through on each of those parts if you wanted to make your own Management Pack, and we'll have videos for each of those. And a lot of these will have hands-on labs as well if you look through. All right, so I think that is kind of everything that I wanted to go through. We've got about 9 minutes left. Let me pull up this here again, and for some reason it's cut off. I'll make sure that's I don't know why all of my, there it goes. Okay, so all of the things we talked about: the getting started, the Management Pack list, the marketplace, interop matrix, sample exchange, and a text zone. And I made some smaller links here, so those are a little bit easier to read. I think that Anders and I, we checked, and I think we can be able to interact with this and click the links directly, or it should be a way to interact with it directly. So you can click those links or take a screenshot now if you want to keep some of those links handy. Not too bad here as far as link length. Of course, it could be bad. Could be hard to type. But yeah, I'll answer any sort of questions if there's any questions coming up.
Looking good here. We've got a couple from David. If there's any more, we've still got some time. Don't be shy. That's why we're here.
But
awesome. Okay, going once, going twice. Again, thanks to everybody who showed up today. If this is something that being able to have these sessions where you have this interactivity where you can ask questions, if that's useful to you, or somebody that it's useful to, be sure to share these out, because we want to be able to have these sessions and provide content for you that's beneficial. We definitely want to know you can actually go ahead and leave messages on the blog and say, hey, this looks great, but what about X? We're happy to put stuff together for you too. If you're if there's something that you want to know more about, or something that you want to talk about integrations on, we could put these webinars together to help you. That's literally why we're here. So don't be afraid if there's anything that you're struggling with on deployment, or some kind of integration where you're having trouble. That we're more than happy to help. So, Tim, anything else today?
No, I think that about wraps it up. This was we mentioned we weren't going to be able to get to every single Management Pack today. This was sort of the basics and covering how to use them and how to use documentation. And so hopefully that was helpful. Let us know, as Anders mentioned, let us know if there's something else that you'd like to know more about, and we'll put together a topic around that and put something together for you.
And I suspect we can get you back again to talk about more Management Packs if we ask nice, huh?
I can certainly do so.
Awesome. It's always a pleasure to have you, for sure.
Thanks very much. And thanks everyone for joining us.
All right. Thanks, sir. All right, everyone. Take care, and we'll talk soon.